Henry David Thoreau left us more than words. He left us an urgent call to inner freedom, to awakened consciousness, to a full life. And yet, modern society ignores his cry. We live in invisible chains, imprisoned by a subtle but lethal slavery, the slavery of the soul. There are no visible bars, no whips, no iron shackles. There are contracts, screens, notifications, deadlines, expectations. There is an imposed rhythm that devours every moment, a logic that transforms existence itself into service, obedience, and exhaustion. And, even knowing of our imprisonment, we continue, like automatons, who dare not question, who no longer know how to feel. Every step we take within this machinery is calculated, every gesture is measured, every thought is shaped to meet external demands. The world has taught us to believe that being busy is synonymous with importance, that fulfilling incessant obligations is a virtue, and that rest is weakness. Fatigue has become a medal, and exhaustion a trophy. Internal priorities have been replaced by the expectations of others, and the voice of the soul is silenced by the constant noise of notifications, messages, commitments, and deadlines. We have become accustomed to living like cogs in a machine that never slows down, and we call this modern life. We call it normality. We call it progress. The result is devastating. The body complains, but we keep going. The mind screams, but we keep going. The soul begs for attention, but we keep going. We become increasingly distant from ourselves, disconnected from our feelings, our passions, our deepest desires. We watch the world go by, but we don't live it. We feel time slipping away, but we don't notice it. Everything is a rush. Everything is an obligation. Everything is a performance. And as we allow ourselves to be consumed, the machinery grows stronger, transforming normality into conformity, and conformity into a silent prison. Thoreau understood that true freedom lies not in the absence of external obligations, but in the ability to free one's soul. He taught us that a full life is not measured in productivity, wealth, or status, but in moments of presence, contemplation, and connection with what is essential. Inner freedom requires the courage to say no to what enslaves us, to slow down, to resist the pressure to always do more and strive for more. It requires the courage to reclaim our own essence before it is consumed by the relentless pace of the modern world. And yet, we continue to sleep while the gears turn, ignoring Thoreau's call. Each day that passes is another day we distance ourselves from true life, another day we transform existence into mere mechanical survival, another day the soul is silenced. But there is hope. Recognizing our imprisonment is the first step to breaking the invisible chains, regaining inner freedom, and relearning to live fully. Thoreau left us the map. It is up to us to walk the path, breathe, feel, reflect, and finally, awaken to the life that belongs to us. The slavery of the soul is not announced with shouts. It silently infiltrates our habits, disguised as normality, necessity, and virtue. We come to believe that being constantly busy is a sign of relevance, that feeling tired is proof of dedication, and that accepting overload is a moral virtue. Haste, exhaustion, anxiety, they have become medals we proudly display, silent trophies of a society that values the appearance of productivity more than the essence of being. Productivity has become a religion, and exhaustion, its sacrament. We celebrate physical and mental exhaustion as if it were a merit, without realizing that in this ritual, we are selling our souls, our inner freedom, our ability to feel and exist fully. We work to survive, but we forget to live. Each day becomes an endless sequence of commitments, responsibilities, and imposed obligations, and we move forward believing that this is the only way to exist. Rushing from task to task, from meeting to meeting, from deadline to deadline, we become prisoners of a machine that knows neither compassion nor pause. Every gesture, every thought, every choice we make is filtered and molded to fit into a system that demands our obedience, that evaluates our worth by how much we produce, how much we accomplish, how much we adapt to it. Life, then, becomes measured in efficiency, speed, and conformity. Every step we take, every task accomplished, every minute lived under pressure is counted, recorded, transformed into statistics, while the essence of who we are is lost. We are cogs in an invisible machine, secondary gears that spin and spin, feeding a system that doesn't belong to us. We feign freedom, but know no genuine rest, no contemplation, no simple pleasure. The mind is always busy, the soul is always anxious, the body is always exhausted. What seemed like a choice turns out to be a prison. What seemed like progress turns out to be an illusion. And yet we continue to believe that rushing is natural, that exhaustion is necessary, that a human being's worth is proportional to how much they sacrifice for the sake of the machine. We forget that true life is not measured in hours worked, goals achieved, or material rewards. It is measured in presence, in intensity, in moments of reflection and connection with the world and with ourselves. The slavery of the soul grows when we accept being cogs in a machine that silently crushes us, and diminishes only when we dare to slow down, contemplate, breathe, and reconnect with what is essential. Awakening to this reality requires courage. We must recognize that stopping is not failure, that resting is not laziness, that contemplating is not a waste of time. Every conscious act of slowing down, presence, and reflection is a silent rebellion against the machine that imprisons us. It is in this awakening that the soul finds its freedom, that human beings reclaim their essence, and that life ceases to be merely a succession of mechanical tasks and becomes a true, full, and meaningful experience. Thoreau understood the essence of this slavery as few have dared. He withdrew from the hubbub of society, sought Walden, and refused to be one more in the cycle that devours minds and hearts. He knew that the true prison is not the one that imprisons the body, but the one that enslaves the soul, that transforms every choice, every thought, every feeling into an instrument of silent obedience. The modern world tries to convince us that life is measured in tasks accomplished, hours accumulated, status achieved, and possessions acquired. But Thoreau knew that this is nothing more than an illusion, a veil that hides the internal decay that silently corrodes the human spirit. Conformity, the idolatry of work, unbridled consumption, the relentless pursuit of power, recognition, and social approval. All of this corrodes the essence of who we are, dilutes our individuality, and reduces us to obedient cogs. Every choice we make based on what others expect of us, every step we take to meet external standards, every effort we make to demonstrate importance in the eyes of others, distances us from life itself, from nature, from reflection, from contemplation. We become copies of copies, shadows of a humanity that once existed, but which haste, obligation, and conformity have buried under layers of distraction and superficiality. At the heart of modern civilization, this corruption masquerades as progress, opportunity, and evolution. But it is not evolution, it is spiritual decay. It is not progress, it is the abandonment of what makes us alive. We walk streets crowded with people who never look at the sky, who never hear the birds sing, who never feel the wind on their faces. We buy products, accumulate information, fill every minute with activities, and yet we feel a profound emptiness that no external achievement can fill. We are more connected than ever, but more isolated than ever. The social machinery feeds on this emptiness, and every gesture, every effort to adapt, reinforces the invisible prison that keeps us enslaved to expectations that do not belong to us. Thoreau taught us that true freedom is internal, not external. That wealth lies not in the abundance of goods, but in the abundance of time, attention, and presence. That a full life is not measured in productivity or status, but in moments lived consciously, in experiences that connect us to nature, to others, and to ourselves. He showed us that stepping away from the imposed rhythm, choosing simplicity and silence, contemplating and reflecting, is neither weakness nor luxury, but courage. The courage to face the machinery, the courage to not bow to expectations, the courage to protect the soul of civilization itself. And so even in the 21st century, his message remains vital. As the world hurries, exhausts, and alienates itself, those who remember Thoreau find paths to freedom, ways to resist the slavery of the soul, opportunities to truly live, to recapture what makes us human. Thoreau's wisdom is not just nostalgia, it is urgency, it is a warning. It is an escape map from a civilization that has forgotten what it means to exist. Every individual who bows to the logic of the machine reinforces the slavery of themselves and others. Capitalism has not only hijacked our time and energy, it has hijacked our freedom to think, to choose, to contemplate, to feel. It has transformed work into a meaningless obligation, consumption into a necessary vice, haste into identity. Rest has become a sin, contemplation has become futile, and full presence in life an act of rebellion. Each day lived solely to meet external demands is another step backward. I turn to the inner desert, to dehumanization, to the death of the soul. We are surrounded by voices, but lost to ourselves. Incessant information, images, sounds, and pressures shape every decision. We don't allow ourselves to feel the weight of our own existence because we are too busy reproducing imposed standards. Children grow up knowing that competition is more important than learning to love. Young people learn to produce before learning to reflect. Adults become accustomed to obeying before questioning. Silence, which should be sacred, is avoided. Idleness, which could be liberating, is feared. Simplicity, which could be richness, is despised. The slavery of the soul is silent, invisible, and yet devastating. The entire world revolves around this mechanism. Technology imprisons us. Social media distracts us. Work consumes us. We are all cogs in a system that demands physical presence and an absence of consciousness. We continue to obey like automatons, believing that constant busyness is a sign of importance, that exhaustion is a virtue, that weariness makes us valuable. But in truth, the slavery of the soul transforms us into shadows of ourselves, busy, exhausted, connected, but dead inside. Thoreau taught us that true freedom is not found outside, but within. It is not found in wealth, power, or status. It is in the ability to resist the pressure of the machine, to slow down, to contemplate, to breathe, to feel. The true revolution is internal, choosing a full life over constant busyness, simplicity over excess, presence over distraction. Those who dare to reject the imposed rhythm and reconnect with themselves challenge the invisible slavery that dominates society. And if we continue to ignore this call, the slavery of the soul will become absolute. We will continue to live by appearances, masking our own insufficiency of meaning with objects, status, and constant busyness, believing that life is measured in movement, when in truth, movement without purpose only distances us from ourselves. We will exist fragmentedly, divided between obligations, deadlines, and other people's expectations, unable to perceive the totality of our own existence. We will sacrifice our essence in the name of promises of progress that never come, illusions that keep us busy and submissive, while the true richness of life slips through our fingers. Every minute we spend obeying the clockwork is a minute stolen from life, from consciousness, from freedom. Every automated gesture, every imposed habit transforms us into shadows of what we could be, silent slaves to a routine that presents itself as inevitable, but is the result of choices imposed by society. With each step taken without reflection, we move toward internal death, toward the erasure of what makes us human. The constant rush, the overcommitment, and social pressure not only steal our time, but also erode our ability to feel, to contemplate, to think for ourselves. We lose the ability to listen to our own hearts, to communicate with our minds, and to contemplate the world around us. We become collectors of tasks and hoarders of chores, and even amidst material abundance or the multitude of activities we accomplish, we feel a profound emptiness, a silent longing for something we were never taught to value: life itself. The slavery of the soul also manifests itself in emotional alienation. We are incapable of experiencing deep relationships because our emotions are occupied with fulfilling behavioral standards, external expectations, and the incessant race for recognition. Loving, caring, listening, and being heard become tasks, calculated and timed, losing their spontaneity and intensity. Human existence is transformed into a mechanical routine, and each day we distance ourselves further from our essence, from nature, from contemplation, and from the freedom that Thoreau so clearly saw as essential. To ignore this call is to continue to delegate our autonomy and our inner life to a system that feeds on our silent obedience. Every minute lived under pressure, every choice made to please others, Every habit acquired according to external standards strengthens invisible chains, making liberation more difficult. The slavery of the soul is not dramatic. It is silent, invisible, and lethal, and its progression is gradual, almost imperceptible, until one day we find ourselves completely disconnected from ourselves, from our essence, from our freedom, and from our ability to live fully. Awakening is possible, but it requires courage. The courage to slow down, to contemplate, to question, to resist the pressure to be constant, fast, and productive. It is necessary to realize that every conscious gesture, every moment lived with attention, every choice that respects one's soul is a step of resistance. Freeing oneself from the machine is not an act of laziness but of wisdom. It is réveil.